So you are the former Minister of Justice, and you served a crucial role during the 1993 Oslo Accords, which was a historical framework to end the Israeli-Palestinian conflict. So my first question is very simple. How are you witnessing the current war right now?
Well, it is a war which must be fought.
はい、ピボットの竹下です。今日はイスラエル・ハマスの軍事衝突をテーマに取り上げます。今この瞬間もイスラエルではですね、ちょっと映像も出しますけれど、様々な声が上がっています。キャンドルを灯したりとか、街に出ていろんな人が声を上げたりしている。そういった悲しみと怒りに包まれているイスラエルです。そんな中ですね、今回はイスラエルの元司法大臣で、なおかつイスラエル・パレスチナの和平交渉に関わった元高官のヨシ・ペイリン氏と中継をつないで今の状況について話を聞いてみたいと思います。ヨシ・ペイリン氏はかなりのキーパーソンです。1993年のオスロ合意、こちら写真出ますけど、当時のクリントンアメリカ大統領とパレスチナ PLO のアラファタ議長、そしてイスラエルのラビン首相が握手をした画期的な交渉があったんですが、この交渉に携わったキーパーソンです。ベイリン氏はですね、もともと労働党、そして左派の政党メレツに所属していた人物なので、それを前提としてこのインタビューを聞いてもらえたらなと思います。So, Yossi Beilin, thank you for joining our show, especially in a very crucial and tough time for your country. Thank you so much for joining our show. So, are you in Tel Aviv right now? Could you explain to the audience what your everyday life, the situation of your city is like right now?
Well, I'm in Tel Aviv, and the sirens are getting to Tel Aviv at least twice, three times a day. We go to the shelter, and after 10 minutes, we go back home.
So you are the former Minister of Justice, and you served a crucial role during the 1993 Oslo Accords, which was a historical framework to end the Israeli-Palestinian conflict. So my first question is very simple. How are you witnessing the current war right now?
Well, it is a war which must be fought. I mean, the idea for years of different Israeli governments, but especially the governments of the right, was that although they don't want to make peace with Israel, I mean, the Hamas organization, unlike the PLO organization of the Palestinians, and they are supporting violence against Israel, and they are shooting or launching missiles against Israel from time to time, still, it is a dictatorship which holds the Palestinians in Gaza quite strongly, unlike the Palestinian Authority in the West Bank, which is much weaker. So maybe it is better to have such a regime which is in charge of its people. And this is why it is a very strange situation in which the Israeli right did not support Hamas, of course not, but was happier with Hamas in Gaza, and from time to time helped it to get money from the Arab countries and to work in Israel and things like that. Now, the idea that you can actually live side by side with Hamas actually exploded in our faces on the 7th of October. And we understand that they are not ready for anything. It is not, an organization which is using force in order to achieve political targets, which happens in the world. You don't like it, but it happens. This is not the case. I mean, if you ask them, are you ready for peace with Israel? They will say no. If you are ready to the two-state solution, they will say no. So it is not that they can demand something and then we say, okay, that's yes, that's no, and there is a compromise. This is the way we are negotiating with the PLO in the West Bank, but not with them. They are ISIS in many ways. Not exactly. They are having their differences, of course. But generally speaking, it's kind of ISIS in its cruelty, mainly in its cruelty. I mean, dismembering bodies of innocent people, beheading babies whose age is less than a year, is something which is really beyond what a human being can understand. And the only way to deal with them, and this is, I mean, I'm saying it, and I think that I'm one of the symbols of peace in my country. If I'm saying it, believe me, I hate the idea that I have to say it, but I really don't have any other choice. Now that they are holding almost 300 hostages, babies, women, innocent people. I mean, it's crazy. We must free them, and we must get rid of this leadership of Hamas so that it will be replaced by another leadership, an Arab leadership, a Palestinian leadership, maybe the Palestinian Authority, which is now only in the West Bank, and the Gaza Strip was taken from them by force in 2007 by Hamas. So the most understandable solution is to bring back the Palestinian Authority to the Gaza Strip if they are ready for that. It is a challenge.
Right.
And it's a war. People are killed. Innocent people are killed. You watch it on TV and you want to cry. But if you ask me whether I have a better option, my answer will be no.
So before talking about the solution, I want to ask how the people in Israel are reacting. Some people say that this is the 9/11 of Israel. Do you agree with this expression, or do you think in a different way?
It's the 9/11 of Israel. Something that you don't expect. I mean, the planes will bomb the Pentagon and explode the Twin Towers. Is something which is beyond your imagination. This is why when they say that the intelligence did not expect it, it is because the intelligence is made of human beings. Most of them are very rational people. And they are making the calculation of the other side, what the other side is capable of doing, what the other side wants to achieve. But to think that people will come on Saturday and kill members of kibbutzim who are participating in a peace festival, this is not something which was expected. And it is bad that it wasn't expected. And these people will have to resign for that. But if you ask whether it could be expected, very difficult, very difficult. And the same was on 9/11.
So before the attack, I was supposed that Hamas was a kind of a manageable threat, that they were kept in a control by the fear of Israeli countering attack or by financial incentives. Why did this happen? Why did they suddenly attack Israel?
Because it was not. I mean, we all had this, or many of us had this view that you are expressing. But the main problem that we have is that usually in life, we expect others to do something according to our norms, to our behavior. And when they are doing something totally different that we cannot understand, we are always surprised. But theoretically, we shouldn't be surprised when others are doing something that we are not expecting. It is expected that unexpected things will happen. The only thing is that these black swans, as they call it in the last years, are something that may happen, but you don't know where from and why. So if you ask me why the Palestinian Authority behaves this way or another, I believe that I can answer you. But if you ask me why people are taking planes, commit suicide, and bomb office buildings, I will never be able to answer to you. Or why are they going to kill people in the kibbutzim who are weaponless? I mean, why should they? I don't know. I don't know. I only know that it was a mistake to allow Hamas to rule Gaza, and that our role is to prevent them from prevailing as the leaders of the Gaza Strip. And it will not be easy, and it will not be costless.
So Israel is planning on the ground attack sooner or later. So what is your prediction? What's your scenario in order to bring this situation into a solution and peace?
My scenario is that at a certain moment, and it cannot take years, it will take maybe years, maybe months, but not more than that, that Gaza will not be under Hamas anymore. I think that we will catch most of the Hamas leadership, and then we should think about or talk about, and it has already been done formally and informally with different bodies about the future of Gaza. Israel should not return to Gaza. We left Gaza in 2005, and thank you very much. We don't want to be the occupiers of Gaza. Even the right, maybe the extreme right, wants to return, but they are really our own lunatics. Speaking about normal people from right and left, they don't want to return to rule Gaza. So what can it be? If the Palestinian Authority is ready to take it upon itself, they are the obvious candidates to do that, with the help of the world, with the help of Israel, financially and whatever. If they say that they cannot come to the Gaza Strip on the tanks of the Israeli army, which is what I hear from some of them, then it should be a kind of a trusteeship of some Arab countries, or maybe even the UN, or another multinational body, which will take Gaza, help reconstruct Gaza for a year, 2 or 3, and only then hand it over to the Palestinian Authority.
So if the invasion were to begin, and unfortunately if some civilians will be killed, maybe some international pressure for humanitarian pauses and to ceasefire may arise. How can Israel get support from the international community and other Arabic countries after the invasion?
I believe that many Arab countries are very, very happy that we are fighting Hamas. This is a threat on them. It is the Muslim brothers. And the Muslim brothers are a pain in the neck for many Arab countries. What is the problem? They cannot say it openly. The public opinion in the Arab countries is very much against Israel. And part of it is Islamistic movements. And that is why they find themselves in a very strange situation. Publicly, they have to denounce Israel. Intimately, they say, go for them. Go, don't stop. And this is the situation in which we find ourselves.
I see. So let's look back at history. So you played an important role during 1993 of the Oslo Accords. And I remember a picture of then President Clinton with Prime Minister Rabin and PLO Chairman Arafat. So what went wrong from the 30 years from the Oslo Accord, and how are you witnessing the situation right now? How do you look back at history?
I think that what happened was that the extremists on both sides won the day. We were impressed by the majorities which were supportive on both sides for the Oslo Agreement, which I initiated.
Yes.
And we did not evaluate rightly, and this is our fault, the power of the small minorities. People were ready to sacrifice their lives in order to prevent us from living in peace. And because they believed that it was a God-given land and to them on both sides. And so I think that one should take it into account in the future. They didn't succeed to kill the prospects for peace. And usually you negotiate peace after war. And we are having now a war. And after the end of the war, I hope and believe that things will change. I mean, the Israeli government led by Bibi Netanyahu will not prevail politically. I have no doubt about it. And if there is a new government of center-left, then this government will negotiate peace with the Palestinian leadership, and that will change the situation. So the two-state solution is the only reasonable and realistic solution, which is supported by the whole world. And I think that what we should do is to negotiate peace. We know by now more or less what the solution is on all the issues, because we were negotiating officially and unofficially very intensively, Israelis and Palestinians. And if this is the case, the very awful moments that we are living now, the dark period after this awful Saturday of October the 7th, may somehow, with the very strange ways of history, be conducive to a return to the negotiating table and hopefully for peace.
So let's talk about the two-state solution later. Before that, I want to piggyback on the point that you made about the Oslo Accord. It was interesting that you mentioned that you were not able to evaluate it properly or rightly. What do you mean by that? Where were you? So what was your impression during the 1993 agreement? Were you optimistic, or did you predict some kind of terror coming afterwards? What was your impression back then?
Well, the first big terror event was on February 94. That was when an Israeli American soldier killed 29 people, worshipper, Palestinian Muslim worshippers in the Hebron Patriarch grave. And that changed the belief that the support of the majorities will help us finish the job. And then there was the retaliation of Hamas. And then there was a change of suicide terror activities of Hamas. And people on both sides blamed each other, of course, for the blood. And that culminated in the assassination of Rabin on the Israeli side, the victory of Hamas on the Palestinian side. People who began to lead their peoples were those who were totally against the Oslo Agreement in the late 90s and the beginning of this century. So that changed the atmosphere. I believe that we are in another period today, that people understand that the other idea of having it all was childish and stupid, and that we don't have any better solution than to divide the land and to live together as neighbors.
Yes, let's talk about the two-state solution. Do you think that is the only answer? Because to be very frankly speaking, when I witnessed this situation, the war, the two-state solution kind of seems like too idealistic for me. Do you still believe that the two-state solution is the only solution to solve this terrible situation?
Did you think that the EU or the European community after the Second World War, that countries like France and Germany will cooperate and lead maybe the most important organization in the world? You didn't. You did. So it is in the interest of both sides to have a border, for the Palestinians to have to implement their needs for self-determination, and for the Israelis to assure that Israel is both Jewish and democratic. And is there another solution? Yes, there is. Another solution is to do it unilaterally and to leave the West Bank unilaterally. So, it's very, very problematic without recognizing the Palestinian needs, and it's like what happened in Gaza. It will not be the right thing to do. If push comes to shove, yes, it is better than the current situation in my view. But why should we have it if we can have peace and we can talk to each other? And I think that this is, because of that, it is the only realistic solution. I also believe that what we should have is an umbrella of a loose confederation between Israel and Palestine, which will allow all the settlers who would remain on the Palestinian side to become a permanent residents of the Palestinian new state, and so that the same number of Palestinians who would like to live in Israel will get the right to become a permanent residents of Israel. So if this is what we are doing, then we are taking off the table the issue of the settlements, which is a major issue that prevents us from going towards peace. So I think that we can find this solution, and maybe others will find a better solution than that, in order to get there as soon as possible. We don't have time, and we prove to ourselves something that some of us warned against, that managing the conflict is just words, but you can never manage a conflict.
So in order to reach the two-state solution, what will be the necessary conditions? Because as long as Hamas is in power, I feel that the Israelis will not feel secure. So, and maybe similar other organization will be a threat to the Israeli people. What will be the necessary conditions to achieve the two-state solution?
No conditions whatsoever. Sit, negotiate, have an agreement. If God forbid, the situation in Gaza doesn't change, and extremists like Hamas remain there, then it will be implemented at the beginning only in the West Bank. But it will be open for the Gazians to join once they are ready to recognize Israel and to join the peace process.
Do you think there needs to be a disarmament
of
Palestine or Gaza or?
Yeah, Palestine will be demilitarized. I think that there is no problem about it. Palestinians and the PLO agrees to it. In Gaza, again, I mean, once they join the peace, they cannot have their own army and their own weapons. So it will be the role of the Palestinian new state to assure that Gaza is also demilitarized.
Do you think that?
But it is not a precondition. This is what is important for me to stress. That I'm not speaking about preconditions for peace because it is endless.
Right. Do you think the Israeli people will support your idea?
Yeah, but again, they will support it. I have no doubt. The only question is how can we deal with the extremists? And that will be a very important role for the Israeli authorities and for the Palestinian authorities. We should both understand that the main problem is from within.
So how can the international community or other countries such as the United States take a role in this process?
There are thousands of ways to help if the world is interested. I think that in the 90s, the world was interested. I can give you an example. For example, we worked a lot with Mr. Nogami from the Foreign Ministry, who later became your ambassador to London. I mean, it was a personalization of somebody who understood the importance of peace in the Middle East, who really dedicated time and worked for it. And I don't think that it was necessarily an official policy of the Japanese government. But you have people in the world, like Terje Larsen of Norway, who was my partner for the beginning of the Oslo process.
Yes.
He did it personally. You think that somebody sent me to Oslo? I had to tell my prime minister and my foreign minister that I'm involved with something new, which was a kind of an academic seminar in Norway, but actually it was the beginning of an earthquake in our relations with the Palestinians. You need people who are interested. If you have them, and they live everywhere in the world, I think that it will be very important if they contribute something. And this is why I believe that it is not that Israel will come to Japan or to another country and say, we need from you A, B, and C. It will never happen. It will never happen. But if Japan comes to Israel and says, on these issues, we can help you, to Israel and to the Palestinians, and say, this is something that we can, for example, just an example. If you believe that it is very important, you Israelis and Palestinians, that the Palestinians will have a seaport, we can help you in building it. Or, whatever. I mean, there are projects, there will be new projects. And if the world is involved, and I'm not speaking only on the economic side, it can be also, a 2-day seminar in Tokyo about the Israeli-Palestinian problem. It did not happen for ages. I exaggerate, of course. Yes. But in the past, Japan, which kept itself a little bit out of the conflict because of its own legitimate interests in oil and other things, became, after Oslo, because it was not only helping Israel or helping the Palestinians, but helping both, very much interested in the multilateral talks on the economic projects, on the refugees, on the arms control, and other things. And suddenly you saw Japan very much involved in the steering committee, in the meetings that we had on water, for example, on environment. And so I think that if other countries are re-involved in the Israeli-Palestinian conflict, it will help a lot, because both of us believed in the last years that in many ways the world gave up on us.
So in 1993, the academicians from Norway took a great part in starting the conversation in order to solve the problem. Do you think there are similarities or differences at this moment compared to 1993? What's different about the situation right now?
We don't need to hide. We don't have to have secret talks. We can go a quarter of an hour from Jerusalem to Ramallah and sit together and work on the drafts which exist already. Take, for example, the Clinton parameters of December 2000. You have there the guidelines for an agreement. Take our Geneva initiative of 2003. Take my paper with President Abbas for 95. I mean, for example, in the Geneva initiative, you have 500 pages of annexes. Very boring, by the way, on environment, on water, on the way the Palestinian refugees will be compensated, and so on and so forth. we are in another stage. I mean, we know by now what should be done. So we don't need years in order to negotiate. It's over. We already used the 30 years to meet and to negotiate on things. We don't have to renegotiate. But to change different things in the map, perhaps, or whatever. But the general solutions are there today. That is the big revolution since Oslo. And this is something which is a big advantage.
I see. So let's talk about the current Israeli government. What's your impression of President Netanyahu? Is the government handling this problem very well, or do you think there needs to be more improvement, or what are the challenges there ahead of this government?
It's the worst government Israel ever had.
So why?
It was democratically elected. I believe that what we are learning is that there are no easy responsibilities, which we now see did not fit them. And the ideology is a very rightist ideology. People whom we never expected to become ministers. And Netanyahu himself said that these people will never, ever serve on his government. It is recorded. It is not that he said it secretly to his wife. He said it openly. And eventually, because of his trial, he decided that he must continue and be a prime minister. And he took people like them and made them important ministers. And it proved itself. He could not hide it. And that is why, and he himself, I mean, is so much involved with his own trial that it is difficult for him to deal with other issues. And he of course, led a very wrong policy of living with Hamas, if not more than that. So this government will not continue and cannot continue and should not continue.
So having that said, what should the Israeli people and the government do from now on? I know you are very critical about the current government, but having this on the current situation, what should they do and what should the Israeli people do from now on?
Well, I mean, we are at war. It is very important to replace Hamas. Once we replace Hamas and hand it over to somebody else, I believe that this war will be over. And then there will be the political chapter in which, if the government doesn't resign, there will be protests in the streets.
I see. So what would be your best and worst scenario from now on? What are your predictions?
My best scenario is that we replace Hamas by the Palestinian Authority. My worst, I prefer not to share it even with myself.
What will be the time frame? Will be like how long will it take to reach a solution?
It cannot take hundreds of years. It cannot. It is a matter of a few. I mean, the war is a matter of few months. Getting peace is a matter of few years.
So you have been witnessing the whole history of this 20 or 30 years. What was the lesson from the Oslo agreement, and what can we learn from the current Hamas attack? And what can we do, even the international community do, in order to solve this problem?
Again, about the international community,
Yes.
what I can say is it should put it high on the agenda, invite Israelis and Palestinians to deal with different issues, like environment, like water, whatever. But put it high and give the Israelis the impression and the understanding that the world did not give up on us. I think that today the world is ripe to get back to the conflict and to help us solve it because of the international ramifications on what is happening here. Not because of any good-heartedness or doing a favor to anybody. It's the self-interest of the countries of the world is to solve the Israeli-Palestinian conflict. So this is the most important issue, putting it on the agenda. And then, as I said, if there are some specific projects which may interest certain countries, it will be important that they will take part in it so that there will be stakeholders of the ongoing peace. And that is, in my view, realistic.
Yossi, Beilin, we need to wrap up. Could you give us some final comments for our viewers? We learned so much from your insights today. Some final comments we haven't covered or anything to add?
Well, I believe that what we are learning is that there are no easy solutions. And that what seems easy is sometimes the worst and the most difficult one. It is very difficult for us to divide the land, for Israelis and for Palestinians. But it is the easiest thing in the long run, because this is going to solve the problem. While any other solution, keeping the Oslo Agreement, which is only an interim solution for 5 years, for 30 years, is crazy. And to expect it to succeed, how can it? It's like a rope bridge that you want to keep forever. At a certain moment, it will be torn. And this is what is going to happen with Oslo. Oslo should end its role, already should have done it on May the 4th, 1999. That was the deadline for the end of the interim agreement. And we have to get to the difficult issues like the division of the land, the partition of the land. Once we solve it, I believe that the Israeli-Palestinian conflict will be solved. There will be problems, there will be violence, I'm sure, but the main issue will be solved.
Okay, thank you, Yossi. I appreciate your time and I wish your safety, and thank you for taking this time for this interview.
Thank you for having me.